Hello, Latinos in Clinical Research. Thank you for joining us. Welcome back to our monthly webinar. If you're watching the replay and you don't know how we're doing this, you just need to subscribe to our email list. So go to latinosinclinicalresearch.com, put your email address in there. We don't spam you. I don't have enough time to spam. All right. We barely even get the emails out on time as it is. So we're not going to spam you. Just put your email in there. You're going to be able to do these live calls once a month, or you can always watch the replay like you are now or listen. We've got a special episode today with We have Dr. Fox, Dr. Valverde, Dr. Al Jazairli. We might have some more doctors through here. We're going to talk clinical research, Latin America, and physicians. So with all that being said, Dr. Fox, how's it going?
Going great. It's going great, Dan. Happy day to everyone, and I'm glad to be here. Thanks for the invitation.
Can you tell us, and this will be a good segue to Dr. Valverde, why, as an American in Illinois, right, like literally the middle of the country, do you want to expand into Latin America? What do you see there that others haven't yet?
Oh my gosh, I see so much power into Latin America for clinical research. One, I fully believe in diversity. I just posted something on LinkedIn. It got me frustrated about someone looking for a trial for one of the inclusions where you had to speak English. It just infuriates me to see that kind of closed mindedness. It's frustrating. Sorry. Um, we need, as clinical research, to come together as a unit, as a world, to bring clinical research to the forefront, to develop technologies that will help everyone. And if we work into Latin America, if we work together, we can increase enrollment and seriously expedite the translation of research into our industry.
And so Dr. Valverde hears you and has been doing this for decades. Dr. Valverde, what do you think about this? And how's business over there for you?
Thank you. Thank you. That always my pleasure to join your meetings. No, I couldn't agree more. So I think in Latin America we have so many different populations and so many opportunities to run clinical trials and to obtain really interesting results. And also as a physician, you would like to understand that you're treating your patients with a medication or a medicinal product that was tested in your population. It's really important to understand that and to assume and to have in mind that you're treating the patients with something that's going to really help them. And I kind of enjoy that this is something that is really moving forward in the world, the whole country and the whole world, and that you guys in Latinos in clinical research think that this is really important to consider and to work with. And I think this is really important for the whole population in the world and for the whole scientific community. And it's really interesting to see people from the United States also trying to focus in other countries and find out how we can collaborate and to help all these new products to get to the market. Mhm.
What's your experiences? What have your experiences been? I mean, are they very similar? I interviewed a site owner from Argentina, one who does really well actually a few months back, and his main complaint was, he said, you think you have it bad in the US when you can't get paid. At least you have an argument here. We just have to take what we get, and if they don't pay us, they don't pay it. What's been your experience as far as like sponsors maybe taking advantage, or maybe not taking advantage, maybe that's not the right word, but like when it comes to treating you fairly?
Well, so it's for me. The question is for me then.
Yeah, for you. Yeah, for you. And then we can get Dr. Fox and Dr. Al on there too.
So my experience, I've been working with, I have managed sites before in the area of ophthalmology, and I have, as a site, and I also work as a CR, as you know, for medical devices. So I don't see that there is any advantage. No one's taking advantage. That's my experience. Someone else could say something different, but I don't see there is someone taking advantage of us here. There's
Yeah.
some proposals in the middle, and you just decide if you want to work with it or not. but my experience is that the numbers are just fine, And with medical devices, I think things are, we work with smaller companies, and the processes, the internal processes, the budgeting, the contracting, and all these processes way quicker than with big companies that work in several countries. And I think this process is a little bit different, but I couldn't say that I have had a bad experience with contracting and budgeting with my sponsors. I wouldn't say that.
I wonder what's the issue, because it just dawned on me, when Dr. Fox was talking earlier and on LinkedIn, his post in regards to sponsors want more diversity, but then they don't translate their consent forms. If we're doing these studies in Latin America already, don't they have these forms already translated? So what's the issue?
So
I don't think it's so much those studies, right?
So what I would say is that, as talking as a CRO, you have to work with the sponsor, and you have to get like every single document, and every country has a different regulation, and obviously we will have to work with good clinical practice. So we take care of that. We do the translations. We adapt them to be compliant with local regulations and with GCP. And I mean, it's not an issue for us.
Dr. Al, what do you think? You do oncology studies over there in LA. Can't be in a more diverse city. What are you thinking? Are you there? It's only dark.
Can you hear me, guys?
There we go. There
Yes.
we go. Dr. Al
Yes, we
Jazarli,
hear you.
everybody. World
Can you
famous
hear me?
oncologist. Yes.
Yeah, but mainly I don't have any problem with the company that I work with and their payment or their system. It may delay a little bit, but I have no problem, as Dr. Valdarbe said.
What about with the translating? Or
Tran-
Judy, feel free to jump in, Judy, but like
Yeah.
translating the ICFs into Spanish, any issues?
No, I usually most probably I get it from we need to submit it to the IRB, and then IRB approve, and the company will provide it for us. We don't do it ourselves. Have to go through the company. All my Spanish ICF and everything is through the company.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Are
just
there
to
any other
add to that,
languages?
if that's okay, if I can add something, sorry to interrupt. But I think my experience too, I think similar to Dr. Al and Dr. Valverde, is if the study is outside of the US, like it's in the US and in Latin America, no issues. They have Spanish materials. Yes, we have it. But it's more the studies located in the US. So only US based studies where they tend to sometimes have this criteria where they have one of the criteria only English speaking participants, or if they do allow Spanish, it takes months and months and months to get everything translated. And I've even offered to do it ourselves through a third party person. Nope, it has to go through IRB. That has to go to who knows, some vendor. Yeah, and it takes forever.
I actually have a question in regards to that. If, for example, if a sponsor is doing a study internationally and is already doing things in Latin America, why is it so difficult to use all those translated documents in United States? Is that because of regulations or?
Are you? I personally haven't had issues with that, Monica. If they already have the Spanish materials, we usually can use them. I mean, it's not an issue because it's already been translated. It's more the studies in the US where they don't have the materials, but they say they allow Spanish speakers. And so that's the issue, the process sometimes, or one in a few studies where they actually exclude Spanish speakers, and it specifically states English speaking participants only in the criteria. That's one of the criteria.
Yeah. Or you get the other variant that I have now. It says, oh yeah, we have the English ICF approved. The Spanish one's going to take a while. So in the meantime, just translate it with them, and it's like a lot easier said than done. And we're still waiting. It's like
That's a process.
3 months of enrolling. We're still waiting for the Spanish consent. So, I mean, all 3 of our patients so far have been Spanish only, and we've been using the English consent. So it's just priorities, I think. I think a lot of lip service is paid to this topic because sponsors feel like they have to, because it's important. But I think when they put their money where their mouth is, I mean, it's not that hard to pull this off. Like it's not like we're trying to go to Mars. Dr. Al, by the way, if you have questions, guys, put them in the chat or raise your hand. We can talk. Jesse Molina says, is the Spanish speaking IRB required to confirm English to Spanish translation?
Man.
What do you think?
Dan, what is this AI now in your Zoom meeting? Wow.
Oh yeah, we have AI. Welcome to 2023. The AIs join us in
Oh
the
my
meetings.
gosh, Dan.
We have no privacy. They live with us. They're gonna know what we're gonna say soon, like better
Wow.
than we do.
You full of surprises, Dan.
It's just to catch you up. I have so many transcripts. By the way, Dr. Al, he's a member of Clinical Research Circle. He's one of our founders and one of our founders of Latinos in Clinical Research. And we got a surprise for you. We have the SOS conference next year in Tucson. February, you gotta go. February 2nd, 2024, Tucson, Arizona, where they would not take me into med school back in the day. You gotta come. All right. We have 160 tickets sold so far.
Oh my gosh.
So far, only in like 2 weeks. No, not even 2 weeks. Not even.
I'll be there, Dan.
I hope so, Dr. Al. I'm gonna call you. I was gonna call you tomorrow.
And you ready, Dan? You ready for this surprise?
Yeah. More surprise.
We have 26 sponsors signed up to help.
Wow.
Wow.
We're gonna need AI to figure out how to price them.
Exactly. So, for everyone out there who signed up to sponsor, it means a lot that we haven't even gotten materials out, and you want to help this cause. That tells me that this is something that everyone really wants in this industry.
Wow.
It's called Save Our Sites, Dr. Al. Save Our
What is
Sites.
Save Our Sites?
Save like a lifeguard.
Yeah,
we're
SOS.
drowning.
I got the email about it. Yes, I got the email. SOS. Save Our Sites.
You're one of the
Yes.
founders. Don't worry about the email. You're in it already. Just we got it. We got this. We got this.
Now that we're talking about sites, I wanted to ask Dr. Valverde about the sites in Colombia. And the regulations. Is that similar than in United States, like the regulations, or how is that regulated so that way people understand, or organizations here in United States understand how the processes are in Colombia?
Yes, Monica. So the thing is that in Colombia, the government has created a structure for sites to be extremely qualified. I mean, the quality of clinical trials run in Colombia has to be really high because it's not just a guideline or recommendation, but because it's the law. So when you open a clinical research site in Colombia, you have to follow. I mean, if you're going to run studies for pharmaceuticals, you have to be compliant with the resolution, which is basically a checklist of quality requirements and SOPs and trainings and forms and a lot of things that has to be aligned in order for you to conduct safe studies for your patients and to conduct, high quality studies. And so this regulation makes sure that you have a very good ethics committee, a very good research office, a very good clinical laboratory, and a pharmaceutical service. So like the most important areas that you have to consider when you're running clinical trials. And basically this resolution, which is a law, is based on the good clinical practice guidelines. So basically we took a recommendation and we made it a law. And once you open a site and you want to be compliant with it, you have to work. I mean, you have to work really hard to be compliant with this and to be able to get approval for running clinical trial like this. And in Colombia, we have around 130 sites that are already complying with this, and we have a very well-structured industry on clinical trials that has been running studies for over 20 years, I think, and this regulation has been in place since 2008. So during the last 15 years, our sites have been complying with this law. So So yeah, this is a very well structured industry in Colombia, very regulated, very qualified, and very well experienced.
I now that you mentioned the sites, and I remember the other day we were talking about the study coordinators, the clinical research coordinators that are, I mean, the qualifications in Colombia are very different than what it is here. I would like you to share a little bit about that too.
Yes, so if you want to be a clinical research coordinator, you have to be a healthcare professional. It doesn't matter which one. I mean, you can be like a nurse, obviously a bacteriologist, you can be a physical therapist, uh, this one of these professions that is related to healthcare you need to be one of them if you want to be a coordinator in Colombia. Doesn't mean that you cannot get a position in the clinical research office if you're not a healthcare professional. But if you want to like manage patients, you want to talk to them and you want to do any kind of procedure or even a simple questioning, you must be a healthcare professional. But what I've seen is that we have the sites that are including like managerial positions or administrative positions for clinical research is increasing because they are increasing also the amount of work and the number of clinical trials, and they need a lot of support, not only to manage patients, but also to manage all the documents and be compliant with regulations and all this. So I think in this sense, the industry is growing in different positions, which is always good for a country and for the industry of clinical trials in Colombia.
And for example, for somebody to become a clinical research coordinator, let's say a nurse that wants to become a clinical research coordinator in Colombia, what they do, like they take a class, they have to get a certification to be a clinical research coordinator, or they just apply, and if they get the opportunity to work in one of these sites, they get trained in the site.
What I've seen is that it's basically a clinical research office that is already experienced, and they have coordinators that have been running studies for a while. They get a new one and they train them by themselves. Obviously, sometimes they take online courses and the GCP certificates and all this, but basically it's the same team, the internal team that trains the new one. I think this is why what you're doing is so important for sites. I mean, in the whole Latin American region, and this is very important for the industry. That's what I think.
Thank you. Yeah, that's also a very interesting point to create a program in Spanish.
Yeah, that's what we discussed a few days ago, and I think we need that because as we've mentioned before in other conference we had with you, I think there's a lot of opportunities to create new positions in the clinical industry in Colombia, but maybe there's a lack of knowledge of these multiple activities that someone can, provide or perform for a clinical trial, and many of them are not related. I mean, doesn't have to be done by a healthcare professional, but I think the training and the insights of any other professionals can really help the industry and the management of a clinical trial in a clinical research office. So this is something that I'm really, I always think about that, and I think as a CRO, you would like to understand how you can position new people and to help you to develop new services to conduct smoother clinical trials in our countries and make our countries more attractive to run clinical trials for the big sponsors.
Hey, Dr. Valverde, question for you and for Dr. Al. What are you on the science side? Okay. What are you most excited about as far as what you've been seeing, new innovations from the science front? Could be from anything that, whether it's devices or any indications really.
So I would say, because I'm mostly on devices, this is really interesting. As I was mentioned before in another conference, I work a lot in ophthalmology, and we used to have, like years ago, we used to have, intraocular lenses when you have a cataract, when you get old, and they remove your lens and they put a new one. and before it was only, they were monofocal, that you could only use it for one distance. Then they created the bifocal, the trifocal, and now they work as your own lens, so you can correct your near, intermediate, and distant vision with a single lens that works like the one that you were born with. So these are things that are really improving the quality of life of people with,
Wow.
vision problems. And
Wow, that's
it's really
very exciting.
exciting.
Oh,
Yes.
that's very exciting. Yeah.
Yes. And the other one that I mentioned before is the one that I'm working right now, is that when you had a stroke like 20 years ago, when you had a clot in your brain, it was like, at least in Latin America, you need to stay the rest of your life in a wheelchair, in a rocking chair, because there was nothing else to do. I mean, you lost most of your neurological control, and now they have these catheters that they put into your brain. They capture the clot, they take it out, and then you go home. And it has reduced the mortality in around 20% compared when we didn't have it before.
Wow, I'm
So
gonna be moving to Colombia.
no, we just
You
run
don't
these
have the
studies,
studies
for
here.
America. We run these studies for American companies. So this is
I know, but it's not done here.
Dan, I'm gonna have to go here, but if it's okay, as far as science goes, I don't know. You all might know, but I had a daughter who died of a terminal illness, a pretty bad metabolic disorder, and kind of for personal reasons, I think I'm really excited about watching CRISPR grow through clinical research. CRISPR is going to come through, and it's going to change a lot. And for all of those who have the rare diseases, kind of some of the really difficult metabolic diseases to have through clinical trials, I think that you're going to see it really influence a lot of what we do.
Yeah, no, that's yeah, I'm aware, and I think for those that are wanting to learn more about Dr. Fox, you can check his LinkedIn underneath the show notes once the video is up. But yeah, CRISPR for sure. I've been a investor. I lost most of my investment, but I'm still holding it. Dr. Al, don't worry. I still have CRISPR Therapeutics and my stocks. We're hoping for the best. Jennifer
Me too.
Doudna. We're betting on Doudna, the Nobel Prize winner. Let's go.
I trust in them.
Yeah, I agree with Dr. Fox. I think also I'm expanding my research for do the cellular therapies and genetic therapy, and for oncology, because there is a lot of expanding clinical trial now for oncology in genetics and also in CRISPR and all these kind of cell lines. So I think this is also the future where it's going to be the clinical trial in oncology, mainly gene therapies and vaccines.
Doctor,
vaccines, yeah.
Oh, that's the biggest advance in oncology.
Yeah, there is a lot of trials now in oncology for gene therapy and vaccines.
And the vaccines are kind of a misnomer, right? Because it's not a vaccine in the traditional sense. It's a vaccine in the sense
the vaccine for certain type of cells, and they go against cancer cells and try to work to target these kind of target therapy with the vaccine.
Yep.
They do it for breast cancer, for prostate cancer. Now they're very successful in
See you,
these
Dr.
two
Fox.
fields.
Hey guys.
CRPN. Dr. Fox sent a study. He sends a lot of oncology studies, Dr. Al. You guys need to connect. I think I already connected you guys.
Yeah.
I think we can.
Nice to
Dr.
see you.
Fox. We had one study, small cell lung cancer, already connected with, but looking forward to see more studies from his side. If you have any vaccine studies or anything he needs to more sites, I'm more than happy to see if I have the ability and the capacity to do it.
Dr. Al, the cancer vaccines, I know this is like a huge growth area, but a lot of people for different reasons don't like that word anymore. But it's not, that's why I brought it up. It's like a misnomer. The vaccine in the oncology, it's to prevent recurrent, right? It's not to
Not
prevent
to
it
treat
from
originally,
happening.
yes.
Yeah.
To reduce it's to reduce complication mainly. At this point, it's not really perfected 100%.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's more like a therapy than a vaccine, but yeah, I'm actually excited about that too. And back to CRISPR, guys, like the problem with from what I understand, the problem with CRISPR is like finding the right cell, how to deliver it to the cells it's supposed to go to. And
But
it's
I think they have the model now for sickle cell and for thalassemia, and they've
yeah,
been very successful with that, where they're finding the target. As long as they have a target gene, okay, I think they can work on it and they can modify it and they can fix it. Okay, but in cancer in general, usually there is. If you look at the gene mechanism for cancer, it is sometimes it can involve more than 100 genes. That's why the CRISPR is not really cannot target that things because it's like a lot of receptor, a lot of small molecules that's manipulated by different genes. That's so we're still in the beginning of the field, but they hoping that they can get there soon.
yeah. And I know the blood, you're a hematologist also, so in the blood illnesses are the easiest as far as giving the therapy, right? You just put it in the blood.
As long there is one gene involved, like sickle cell or thalassemia, it's easier to treat with the CRISPR.
Yeah.
Okay, once it start getting complicated, the CRISPR at this point they cannot handle it. Maybe now with the AI they can create more stuff. Incorporating, which they're trying also. If you read in the new magazine about incorporating AI with the gene therapy and CRISPR and all this stuff. So we don't know what the future gonna have for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think AI is gonna transform the whole world of you. I mean, I don't think we all know that that's gonna happen.
Well, the broader implication, really, I mean, we know technology in medicine is, if it keeps advancing, it's gonna produce exponential outcomes. The thing is that I'm worried about that could slow it all down is social issues. Like, I mean, who's gonna pay for it? Because these studies are getting more complex. They're taking longer. It's harder to get the patients. Everything's increasing. There's a shortage of CRAs and CRCs. So that means governments have to pay for these drugs when it's out, and these drugs are like 10 times the price of existing treatments that are already on the market. So if anything slows it down, it's going to be these like costs. It's not going to be the technology itself. That's what worries me the most is who's going to pay for this stuff. And it's not like our industry is getting more efficient. It's actually getting less efficient. And they're trying to do more with less. So all it's going to take is one government or one large payer to say, hey, we see that you have this new treatment, but we're not going to pay it because it's only incremental benefits to the ones already out, and they're 10 times less. Yeah.
The drug company are smarter, much smarter than the governments. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry to say that, but now for rare disease, there's one of the drug. It costs $1 million to treat one patient.
Yeah.
So the company, they don't have any problem by pricing it to the price they want, and whoever have the money will have the treatment. So the drug company, they will do the research, they will price the drugs, and the government take it or leave it. They will put it for the government, take it or leave it. You have this population, we have this treatment, you want it, we'll give it to you. We can discount you 10%, 5%, but I don't think we're gonna lower the price because now there is in the American market medication for $1 million for a certain type of rare disease. $1 million.
What does that same drug cost like in Latin America? Or do they get access to it, or do they not?
I don't know. But I've been reading about there is like this journal that comes to me. It's rare disease treatment and research and like this. It's $1 million for treatment. There's certain drugs in oncology that cost $250,000 every month.
Wow.
T-cell therapy. So
there is T-cell therapy, CAR T.
Yeah, CAR T. Yeah. The new ones and everything. Okay.
Yeah.
The new drug Manju for lymphoma came out here in the United States, just approved like about a couple of months ago, and it's like $300,000 for a course of treatment of lymphoma patient who have recurrence. So,
Wow.
so the companies and they're marketing it, and the doctors are using it. Okay, in big institution because they don't have alternative for it.
What about in Colombia, Dr. Valverde? These prices, are they this high?
You're in mute, doctor.
Sorry, I wouldn't be able to discuss like any specific treatment or the way that it's covered in Colombia or the price that we manage. But yeah, in Colombia we have, the Ministry of Health. They have an office that is the Institute for the Economic Evaluation of Healthcare Technologies, and includes medication, devices, and whatever we use to treat patients. And they have these guidelines that if there's already a treatment in the market, they're gonna do a specific comparison, doing economic evaluations, and they will decide which one they will include in the government list of treatments and which one they're not going to include. And for a specific treatment, I mean, for a specific patient in a healthcare insurance company, every insurance company has their own board that reviews, all the scientific information and the economic evaluation, and they get to a conclusion and they decide if they're going to treat this patient with this product or not. So it's not that easy. And on the other side, there recently in the last few years there was a new resolution or law in Colombia that is regulating the prices of a lot of medications in Colombia. So what we saw as not as a healthcare professional is that some of the medications that they used to take, they came to 50% of the regular price, something like that, for some of them. So we have a very specific process in Colombia. I mean, the government has it to decide how to include and how to provide our patients with these really expensive medications.
Huh. What about like the GLP-1 craze over there? Like the diabetic drugs being used off label for weight loss, like Ozempic. Over here, they're going crazy. Diabetics can't find their Trulicity or their Ozempic because everyone's buying it cash for weight loss.
Do you know how much is it for weight loss? How much is the 1 amp for they buying it of the market?
Cash?
Cash?
No.
$1,500.
$1,500 for a month or for like one dose?
No, for a month, because the vial come in with like about 10 ml or something, and you do this as
Wow.
2.4 every week.
Wow. I mean, we're getting a study in obesity, GLP-1, all these GLP-1 receptor agonists. That's what's hot right now, because they're the first one that gets it approved. FDA is going to approve it, but then they're going to start looking at.
No, there is like now Ozempic is approved for weight loss, and what's the name of it? Another GLP-1 is approved for weight loss.
Trulicity.
So there's some of them of the GLP-1 is approved for weight loss. It's not, and there is a lot of what the generic type of GLP-1 in the market already. They've been sold, selling it to the approved by FDA to be marketed.
The injections or the pill?
Injections.
Injections.
There is a pill approved for weight loss also, but I don't remember the name of it. I went over it one time to see about the clinical trials, but I didn't get any clinical trial. I applied for a couple of them.
Wait, is that the only one? Though, is that phentermine?
No. It's a GLP-1.
Oh, GLP-1. Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, not phentermine or anything like this.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because I mean, how many? Okay, let's say Ozempic's approved for obesity, and there's another one. Let's say it's Trulicity. I don't know which one it is. Manjaro. Thank you, Dr. Carlos Levia. So when is the FDA or these payers, insurance companies going to say, hey, okay, if we get 10 more GLP-1s approved, I mean, and each one is 10 times more than the other one, like they're not going to pay for,
My
So-
my patient in Kaiser, they getting approved for this if if they meet certain criteria for obesity, and they're paying $25 for their medication, and they're doing their self injection at home. So
Wow.
it is in the market already. It is approved in the market, and there's certain companies their insurance they're paying it. They're $25, and Kaiser getting the rest for the insurance.
I
So
see. So
yeah.
you're not worried about the future of research like being slowed down by payers.
No. Because you know the medical cost here in America is 3 trillion and going up. So you know the government is paying for everything, and the insurance is paying, and the consumer is paying. So it's a cycle that's going in. And as long there is good medication for consumer will pay and will push the government, and the insurance will increase the price, and consumer will go for that. So I'm not worried about the prices here.
Plus, we have
Okay.
the baby boomers.
I know
That's
baby boomers
interesting.
are gone now. You know, they're not using the GLP-1 or anything. Now you have the new generation. They care about these things much more than the baby boomers. Baby boomers are gone now. You know, baby boomers are fading now. Now you have the X generation and the
Gen X, like
Z
Chris Sauber.
generation and
Chris Sauber, Gen X.
yeah, and the Z and the Alpha Z and the Alpha, all of them that are coming now, and they are the one who's leading the market. The baby boomer not anymore. Baby
Yeah, well,
boomer only for elderly now for research.
yeah,
Only
but then on
joking.
top of that, but we also have, I mean, many younger generations like Gen Z and X and all of that, getting a lot of metabolic conditions, right? So that is
Yeah,
leading to
it
different
happens
other
for everybody.
conditions.
You know, so especially I think the direction of disease, direction of trial will be different for this new generation because of their social media and their less activity, and a lot of things can happen. And you know, we'll see how the market gonna go.
So we got Dr. Hazen, who joined us late. I told you doctors will be coming in and out. Dr. Hazen is working on gut biome research.
Hey, Dr.
Very,
Hayes, how are you?
Hey, I'm still standing. Look at that.
Oh my gosh, you're such an you know what, I've been reading about all this mycobacteria and like all this in different disease, and now they're talking about Parkinson and and the gut treatment for it in the gut,
You should have listened to me from the beginning when I said, because I'm a
and I
big
get like,
mouth.
you know what, I get 2 studies for checking stool bacteria in immunotherapy
Yes,
to
well, we
see the
already have
effect
the
of
answer
that.
to that.
I know, but in the beginning when I like a year ago I got it, and about checking the stool bacteria for the immunotherapy and how they affect the gut bacteria on the immunotherapy and resistant for immunotherapy. Interesting.
It's very interesting, but you know what's happening? You're feeding the venture capitalists some data so they can create some stool test that should be given to the rest of the doctors for free. It's like a hemoglobin. Could you imagine if hemoglobin was private?
Wow.
Right? So when you're doing these tests for companies, you're basically, keeping all that private for them so they could develop an example of colo advantage, right? When you do colo advantage, you have no idea what they're seeing in the stools. That's example of colon cancer. That shouldn't be private, right? It should be the doctor
No,
should
not.
know.
Yep.
Right? So my interest is getting the doctors involved so they know when they look at a stool sample, what is colon cancer, what is Parkinson's, what is Alzheimer's, and it's not private. The doctors understand the microbiome because you guys are left in the, in the blind. And then what happens? COVID hits and you have no idea what's the microbiome or what is immunity in the gut because you don't know because everything is top secret now.
I think we need to make bigger book. Let's talk shit for all the doctors about
I
about.
agree.
I'm not joking. I'm not.
I
Don't
know.
laugh.
Dr. Al will be your next co-author, Dr. Hazen.
I'm
Let's
not
do it.
joking because it is kind of very interesting, like reading it and finding all these new things now. Finding it on the stool, it's something amazing.
I know. I've been at it for a while now. I mean,
I know. Now
I
you
think-
are one of the pioneers in in this field.
yes, you could say I'm the queen of shit. I'll-
This is probably the time that we have the most amount of doctors in a webinar. We have doctors from Colombia, from
Yes.
Honduras.
Introduce Dr.
Yes.
Hazen and Dr. Valverde, please, because they can do research in Colombia.
Yeah.
Dr. Hazen's interested in Latin America. She's been talking about
Yep.
it to me nonstop. What are you interested in?
Well, guess what? We are coming with a marker for Parkinson's. We're going to be doing an animal study that's proving the microbes that are behind Parkinson's.
See,
We are doing Alzheimer's. We're doing colon cancer. If you have any colon cancer patients, send them our way so we can test their stools. My interest is basically, instead of the traditional, principal investigator, I'm including all the doctors, part of my biome squad. So you can see the data yourself. You can educate yourself on the microbiome and you can treat these patients, because ultimately these patients are going to come to you. You need to understand how to treat them by manipulating the microbes without having to do fecal transplant. That's the goal.
maybe you can. Yeah, maybe you can add my email and just shoot me some emails. And if you have like the testing kit you want, I have colon cancer patient. I have quite few patients that I can send you their stools. I ask them to collect their stool and send it to you if you want to. Just forward for me the kits for the stool.
Yeah, we send you, it's easy. It's a card. It's like they have a QR code. It links them up to the consent, everything they sign, they sign the consent. We co-sign, and then basically they get a kit at the house. Super easy. But I can have Dan connect them, and basically you could be part of us 100%.
No problem. Yeah.
Yeah, because I want.
Yeah, I'm more than happy to help you in any type of cancer you want to help,
Yeah.
and even in other disease that I'm doing research on. More than happy to help you.
Perfect.
Dr. Hazen, Dr. Leiva is saying that there is a good cohort for gut biome studies in Honduras, Major Gastro MD Center. I can connect you with them too. Here, we have here, like, I think like probably 5 or 6 doctors from Honduras. All of them have been students from the CRC Academy, learning more about research. I mean, the industry way to do research, right? Not the educational kind of research. So I can connect you with all of these doctors around Latin America, and obviously Dr. Valverde, who also owns a CRO in Colombia.
Whatever we can do for you, we'll be more than glad. You're welcome to
that'd be awesome. Perfect. This way we can like have the world participate. And because the problem is this, what we've seen with all the clinical trials, and what we're seeing is a direct attack of doctors. They're trying to get us out of the way so they can have a clinic. You're seeing these Amazon clinics that are coming out now. So the art of medicine, the practice of medicine is disappearing. So if we don't take it back and we don't collaborate together, we're going to lose medicine.
Yeah, I agree. I think the silence is telling. I mean, I know for a fact, when we started this webinar, we talked about Walgreens trying to do clinical research. We know Kaiser is big into clinical research now. Amazon is getting into clinical research, not just the treatment. They're taking it even a step further, Dr. Hazen. They're going to the research. They're going full end-to-end spectrum. What do you think about this?
CVS and Walmart too.
Yeah, while you're at it, 7-Eleven can do it also. When I get my big gulp, I could get a Mounjaro. to go with my
Hungry
big gulp.
Pouch.
Yeah, and why even do clinical trials now? You've seen with the vaccines for kids, you know, why even bother doing clinical trials? You do it on mice, you can go straight to kids, you know. The world is changing, and if we don't step up and speak out and basically raise, you know, awareness on safety and be vigilant, we're going to be lost as patients.
You
Our
realize
kids-
I'm in YouTube jail, right? I can't afford another strike. This one will be Latinos in research. No, we don't have. We're clean. Latinos in research is clean. We don't have any strikes actually, so we can get one or two. But
What happened
does
to
it
you? What happened? You got removed from YouTube?
for 2 weeks? But if I get
Oh
one
my
more strike, I'm permanently deleted. But
Why? What did
it
you
won't
do?
happen. I'm not sure, honestly. I think as somebody was flagging some old videos that I talked about. On one of them, I talked about COVID. On another one, I defended Pfizer. Believe it or not, I got
Wow.
a strike for that. But I mean, it's like, what do you think about Latin America? Because you said something interesting when you were in Mexico. Okay, you said over there, there's not this vaccine hesitancy, right? Can you just kind of explain a little bit about what you observed when
No,
you
it's
went?
actually, it was the opposite. In Mexico, they want to get vaccinated because they feel that the government is holding back on them from the vaccine.
And
Because
so-
they're seeing all these celebrities getting vaccinated and they want to feel like they want to be American. So it's the opposite.
Dr. Valverde is laughing. Without getting canceled, what do you think about this, Dr. Valverde?
About vaccination in general, I mean, what I've seen in the last years is that trend to question it. I mean, as you've seen worldwide, I mean, before that, you got all your shots or your vaccines without questioning anything, it was just simple and plain language that you needed it, and you just got it. But in the last few years, you will agree in any other country, we're seeing people that is questioning the use of vaccines with no scientific background at all, which makes it really difficult because I think people spreading this idea of not getting vaccines to other people that just go along with it without getting proper guidance by a healthcare professional. And a vaccine is not only good for yourself, but for all your population. So I think it's kind of concerning. I'm not sure if we're seeing results of this new trend, but this can change in the short term, and it's kind of concerning.
I think myself, the vaccine of COVID changed all this, in my opinion. I think the rapidity of doing clinical trials on these vaccines for COVID, this new technology that nobody really knew anything about, is making everybody question every other vaccine and probably even questioning clinical trials, to be quite honest.
Yep.
I think, we demonstrated, because I don't believe this vaccine is the same as every other vaccine. This is a new technology. It's a messenger RNA. And we demonstrated actually at the American College of Gastro that the vaccines affect the microbiome, and it actually kills your bifidobacteria. Your bifidobacteria, which is supposed to be your immunity, right? Which is the $1 trillion industry of probiotics. So this was presented at the American College of Gastro in October, and it actually won a best award at the American College of Gastro. So 18,000 doctors saw this data that the messenger RNA affects the microbiome. And that basically got doctors questioning and patients questioning. And unfortunately, when you have these questions with these new technology of vaccines, it kind of puts a question on all vaccines, unfortunately, and questions on all of pharma. What we've seen happen in the last 3 years in clinical trials is definitely not what we usually see in clinical trials, right, Dan? I mean,
yeah.
Lack of consenting.
So in this book, which I'm reading, I highly recommend everyone read it if you can see it. I don't know, you can't see it because of my background. Here it is. Breakthrough to Blockbuster, right? It's saying the last 3 decades, 80% of the innovations have been recombinant DNA technology and monoclonal antibodies. That's like 80% of the new approvals in the last like 3 decades are mainly those two categories. So now this mRNA, yeah, it's a new platform, whole new platform, right? But we've only done what, like a few studies on it, and the
Right.
industry is quick to want to jump on it without doing the appropriate testing. Just like we spent 3 decades studying these things, recombinant DNA technology. And don't tell me the technology is faster so the clinical trials can be shortened, because we all work in this industry and we know it's not efficient in our industry whatsoever.
Yeah.
But yeah, without getting canceled more, can we do so? Microbiome in Latin America, you have been interested in this region.
Yes.
Why? Why Latin America? And like where specifically?
Well, I think pretty much every region. I'm really interested in the microbiome of Latin America, of people living in Latin America versus people that are that have moved from Latin America to America, to basically see the differences. Are we, are people in Latin America maybe healthier when they were living in Latin America versus moving to America and then changing their microbiome and being
Yes.
less healthy, right? Globalization in a way of the microbiome.
Let's
I
talk about
believe-
that.
Yeah,
As a
so
GI, what do you think?
I believe we're all born in a certain region with our certain microbes, and we eat the foods of that region. And that really is what creates our health. And then when we change from the region and we don't adapt very well, or we change our diet, we change our diversity, and potentially that could be creating diseases. And then the question becomes, does the next generation now suffer from a loss of diversity that I've gained from moving from a country that was, full of microbes to a country that is basically cleaned off half my microbes, and now I'm giving my kids half my microbes? And do they have an ability to survive? Or is this the reason that we have an increase in autism, for example, right? So, or increase in cancer, Parkinson's, etc. So there's definitely a loss of microbes that is occurring around the planet, in my opinion. And that probably predisposed us to having COVID to begin with. But also, I think this mixture of microbes, the tomatoes from, Guatemala in America in December. Should we really be eating this tomatoes in December in New York City? You know what I mean? Should we, if you look at the European culture, they tend to stick to fruits and vegetables of the region at the time. You ask for tomatoes in December in France, and they'll look at you crazy because they'll say, well, it's not in season. So I think we really need to go back and kind of keep microbes at a certain area. There's some islands that if you bring a fruit to the island, they don't let you in. So I think we need to go back to just, giving a priority to the different microbes of the different regions. And I think the study of looking at the microbiome of Honduras versus the microbiome of people from Honduras that live in America versus Americans, that would shine a huge light on the whole, loss of microbes around the world, in my opinion.
What do you think now that the world's getting more globalized and food is becoming basically westernized everywhere? I mean, you used to not see like Kentucky Fried Chickens in Africa. Now you're seeing them in Africa. You're starting to see obesity in Africa because of it, which you never saw before.
Well, with globalization comes globesity. So, globesity is a problem.
More Ozempic is the solution. Apparently, they're pushing a bunch of new obesity drugs, and I don't know if it's. I don't know. They're not studying the microbiome, though. I mean, you're in this space.
No. But I have a feeling those drugs are going to come out very fast.
There are. We're getting 2 of them in the summer at my site here in Arizona. GLP-1 and glucagon agonist receptor.
No, but
agonist.
I'm saying they're going to come out fast and then they're going to leave fast.
I see.
All these drugs that come out for obesity, remember all the drugs of the past, they come fast, they and then they crash fast. Then there's cardiac
Right.
problems. People can't keep up with it. So, obesity is not a one pill solution,
Or one
Obesity is a
injection
way of,
solution.
or an injection. It's a way of life, right? It's something that you have to start getting into a habit of eating healthy and exercising. There's no shortcuts, but people don't want to do that.
Yeah, of course not. All right. I mean, that's good. I can go on forever about what do you think GLP-1 receptor agonists actually do to the microbiome, but I don't know if people
That's a
wanna go
great
there.
study. We could do that study.
We should, but who's gonna pay for it? Because like, what's the incentive? Charlie Munger said it best: "If you show me the incentives, I'll show you the outcomes." So what?
The
What's the
incentive
incentive?
is knowledge. I'll pay for it. Knowledge.
Wow.
I
Listen,
know
so-
Australia. I know Australia have done a lot of research on the microbiome, and they already doing transplants and things like that.
Mhm.
I know Australia is very involved in that kind of research.
Good. So have them collaborate with me. That'd be great.
We will. Everybody that
So we
wants to
could be
get a
the
hold
lab.
of Dr. Hazen,
Yeah, every time I think about samples, I think about Dr. Hazen.
That's music to my ears, because that's exactly what I want. I want when people flush their stool sample, they think of me. That's the best branding right there.
on that note, unless anyone else has something else to add, questions, comments.
We have a lot of comments in the chat.
Didn't see it. Or you can speak if it's easier.
Yeah, so we have Guillermo made a comment. He's a Mexican based on Mexico. Then we have Jesse from my knowledge, at least in Cuba, many Cuban physicians went door to door and out into the communities. They treat, including rural communities. They have some of the highest vaccination rates in the world. And Jose Ramon Cabrera say exactly, and with Cuban vaccines. So they were vaccinated with Cuban vaccines. Guillermo also add the majority of people in Mexico agree to be vaccinated against COVID every time there is evidence of the benefit. And I think that's it.
Right. Fair enough. Everybody go follow Dr. Fox, Dr. Valverde, Dr. Hazen, Dr. Al. But I don't think Dr. Al has a website. So just follow us for Dr. Al because he's part of LICR.
He has LinkedIn, no?
That's right. LinkedIn. I'll put everyone's
Yeah.
LinkedIn in this.
Yeah, and also,
And I'll put Dr. Hazen's Twitter because she's huge on Twitter.
Yeah, we have, I mean, basically half of the audience today are doctors.
That was
If
great.
no more, yeah. Thank
I
you,
love it,
everybody. Thank you.
Thank you,
And if
everybody.
anybody has interest in connecting with anybody, please let me know. Reach out to me. I will be more than happy to connect you.
Thank you for the invitation, Dan and Monica, as usual. It was
Yeah,
my pleasure.
Thank you so much for
Thank
your
you,
time,
guys.
Dr. Valverde. Thank you, Dr. Hazen, for your time too. Thank you, everybody that participated today.
Thank you, guys. Let's do